Hello, everyone. Go Victory. Wow, it is so great to see so many of us celebrating an organization I love, the LGBTQ Victory Fund. Thank you so much for being supporters. I am Kevin Morrison, and not only am I a proud member of the Victory Fund board, but with Victory's support in 2018, they helped make history by helping elect me as Cook County's first openly LGBTQ Cook County Commissioner. Now, before I move on to why I'm up here today, I have to shout out a very special guest in the room. Someone who, without their love and support, I most definitely would not be up here speaking with you all today. And that is my mother, Bruna Morrison. Thank you, Mom, for always having my back and helping give me the confidence I needed to run in the first place. Now, I also have to shout out another special guest, my fiance, Ethan Ogborn. I want to thank him for always lifting me up. I know it's been a trying few years for us all, but I also recognize how lucky I am to have had him by my side. Now, back to why I'm up here on stage today. Our next speaker has been fighting for LGBTQ rights for decades, and as an ally is one of our biggest champions. In just one term, he has changed the ballgame for LGBTQ rights here in Illinois, passing the historic inclusive curriculum law, guaranteeing that the contributions of LGBTQ+ individuals in Illinois and U.S. history be taught in our public schools. He signed the single occupancy law, making all single occupancy restrooms gender neutral. He expanded Medicaid to include the full range of healthcare needs for our transgender community. And with his support, Illinois became only the second state in the country to repeal the HIV criminalization law. I also have to give JB credit for his incredible support of me in 2018. Thank you, Governor, for helping make history in my race, flipping a district blue for the first time in history, and beating the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party. Without your support, Governor, I could not have combated the $500,000 of dark money spent against me, nor would I have been able to remove transphobic language from the county code, or make all county forms and documents gender inclusive for our transgender, non-binary, and two-spirit community. Now with that, I have the distinct honor of introducing Illinois' most fierce ally, a true champion of LGBTQ+ rights, our Governor, J.B. Pritzker.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I can't thank Kevin enough, although he stole my entire speech today. Yeah, great news. It'll be shorter. It was going to be 45 minutes, only 40 minutes now. Only kidding, I promise. But I really am proud to have been a supporter of Kevin's during the 2018 campaign. He was running a fierce campaign, and one that I knew he could win because he was not going to leave any doors unknocked, and literally talked to everybody in that district. And that's why he won, because people who got to know Kevin understood that he was going to have their back. So Kevin, congratulations on the success of winning and also being one of the great commissioners on our county commission. Well, what an honor it is to be with all of you and to celebrate the incredible work that the Victory Fund does to elect LGBTQ plus candidates up and down the ballot here in Illinois. And I've now met so many candidates and office holders from around the region that are here today. So Kentucky, raise your hand. Shout out, where are you? There you go. What about Indiana? There we go. And Wisconsin. All right, now it gets tricky. I don't think there's anybody here from Iowa, right? Okay, next time. And what about Missouri? Anybody from Missouri? Yay, all right. And of course, and Michigan and Minnesota, and there's so many of you. We love you, and we really are so pleased to have you here. I want to acknowledge someone who has meant so much to this state, who is going to be retiring at the end of this term, and that's Leader Greg Harris. Yeah. I'm sorry, Greg, I know you don't like to, this is like your 75th tribute that you're going to get, but I know you hate all of that, but we're going to do it anyway. I just want you to know, I mean, as many of you know, he was the first openly gay person in Illinois to become a member of the legislative leadership, and I've had the great pleasure of working with him in the Capitol, in his official position, and of course, to be a friend of his. And I have to tell you that we've gotten some of the most important legislation passed during the last 4 years with his leadership as majority leader in the House of Representatives. We could talk about all of it. In a moment, I'm going to mention some of the things that Kevin mentioned and a few others. But I also want to talk about things that aren't specific to the LGBTQ plus community, but hugely important to all of us. And again, this is with Greg's leadership, a massive increase in mental health and substance use treatment. 4 balanced budgets and the first tax rebates in more than 20 years. He's paved the way for really a generation of LGBTQ Illinoisans to see themselves represented in government and in high office. And we'll miss you in Springfield, Greg, but I know you're going to make yourself available to all of us. I'm going to need your help anyway, advice and counsel along the way, but it really has been a true privilege to work alongside him and alongside the entire LGBTQ plus caucus in Springfield to ensure that Illinois is an affirming and inclusive place for everyone to call home. You know, it's easy to say, for those of us who are from Illinois, it's easy to say that we're lucky to live in Illinois, but because we're a state where a majority of the people believe in equality and recognize the impact of sexism and homophobia and transphobia, but luck has nothing to do with it. It's the tireless commitment of organizations and activists like Victory Fund and each of you today that have propelled this state toward true equality, electing great people to public office, whether it's here in Illinois, in Minnesota, in Michigan, in Kentucky, in Indiana, or anywhere in the country. Hugely important for advancing what we know to be right and true and in the hearts of a majority of Americans. It really is. And having representation in the legislature to fight for these things, in high office, as mayors, as city council people, it is genuinely one of the most important things that we can do. Representation matters. I learned the values of inclusiveness from my mother. Some of you have heard me talk about this. My mother passed away, it's now 40 years ago. She was an activist for LGBTQ rights in the 1970s. It was, first of all, she took me everywhere. When I was a little kid, she was an activist. I was her sidekick. And so, you know, it was with her legacy in mind that I marched in pride parades here in Chicago before they were celebrations, back when they were actually protest marches. For those of you, I know all of you know Equality Illinois and Brian Johnson, very important organization. Brian, thank you for your leadership. But there was a Johnson before you. Yes, Art is here. Where are you, Art? Yes. And before it was Equality Illinois, it was the Illinois Federation for Human Rights, and such an important leader. And I have to say that as somebody who marched with the Federation for Human Rights, it was an honor. It was an honor to stand with all of you. And today, so much has been accomplished. And I knew that if I ran for governor and became governor, that I would have to be a leader on this for my own sake, for my mother's sake, for her memory. And I told you that it would be my priority to lift up those who too often have been left out and left behind. We've worked every day to shape a safer Illinois where everyone is treated with dignity. So we implemented inclusive LGBTQ curriculums in schools. We expanded Medicaid coverage for gender-affirming surgery, required single-occupancy restrooms be designated as gender-neutral. We've made great strides in saying loudly and proudly that Illinois is a place where everyone can be themselves and love who they choose to love. And we made Illinois the second state in the nation to repeal the outdated HIV criminalization law and put in place Getting to Zero, a plan to end HIV once and for all. And just last month, I was proud to sign legislation that removed barriers to accessing PrEP and PEP without a prior referral from a doctor. These were all collective efforts of many people in this room and so many others. We modernized birth and marriage certificates to include updated gender-neutral language and we also expanded infertility insurance coverage to LGBTQ plus families. And one of my very first acts as governor was to ensure that every school in our state is safe and supportive and inclusive for our trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming students. So, unlike in Ron DeSantis' Florida, here in Illinois, we not only say gay, but we do so proudly and loudly. And I really wish that every governor around the country would do the same. We know that in many places, our nation is moving backwards and putting communities at risk. Even here in Illinois, MAGA Republicans have nominated Darren Bailey for governor, and he's part of a national Republican effort to impose their shameful, homophobic, transphobic, racist, sexist agenda on our state. But let me be clear, so long as I am governor, LGBTQ rights are here to stay. Here in the land of Lincoln, in the home state of Barack Obama, where a century ago we were the first to ratify women's suffrage, we will not go back. Together with all of your advocacy, we must continue our fight for the rights of every queer or marginalized resident. Together we can build not just a state, but an entire nation that is open, affirming, and welcoming to all people. So I want to thank you all for the opportunity to share such an important morning with you. I want to congratulate so many of you for taking the opportunity in your lives to jump at running for office. It's not easy. It's not easy. But we are with you, and we support you. Victory Fund is with you, and when you win, we will celebrate you. Thank you so much for having me today.